Hey, and welcome to the conversation. I'm Abby.
And I'm Luis.
And we are here on a Thursday. We're here every weekday at noon, but we're guessing that some of our watchers here today are here for a very specific reason.
And probably for the first time here.
Maybe even for the first time.
Just to kind of give you a sense of like the rules of the Facebook Live conversation. We talk for about 10 minutes, tell you about what's going on, and you give us your comments. We are reading your comments live in real time, your questions, whatever questions you might have. If you want to do a shout out too, also you can do shout outs. And that's about it. You know, you can come and go as you please, you know, or you can stay and watch the whole thing. But today, it's safe to say that we are talking about a very touchy subject that definitely got a lot of attention last night.
Right. So in the opinion section of the San Diego Union-Tribune, the deputy editor of the section is also a columnist for the section, and he writes a usual weekly column. Sometimes it's about all different things: technology, politics.
And I talked to him earlier today, and we did a podcast, and he said that he is asked to write a column about things that normally people don't think about or talk about, and so he picks a wide variety of topics. You know, I think he's written about, you know, genetic engineering. I think he's written about, what else has he written?
How television and film shape the workplace, kind of as a cultural phenomenon. A lot of different, really unique deep dives that he does, and he's really good at it, and they usually elicit a lot of interesting responses. Not as many as this one, but this one is a topic that is interesting to all, and it's dogs.
So to kind of like paraphrase what happened last night, we published this column of his online, and we accompanied with a photo and a headline that, you know, in all honesty, I think we knew that it was going to be provocative. It was going to elicit a lot of reaction. It was going to be very emotional, because how could you not react to that little puppy in the photo? And to call a dog a parasite apparently is blasphemy. In America, it is.
Gary Isabel Jr. says, "You knew this would go viral." What I have to say to that is I don't think we knew it would go this far. I think we knew that his column would get a lot of reaction. A lot of probably people would see it negatively. We think that and know that about a lot of things that go out in the opinion section, because it is an opinion section.
Right, and I guess we're going to talk about those two things. We're going to talk about a little bit about the column and what the column's arguing, and two, we're going to talk about the reaction and whether we anticipated or expected the kind of reaction that we got. To a certain degree, I think we did. We know we've been doing this long enough. We've been on Twitter long enough that things can set off really quickly, very to a huge scale, to a wide audience. It could amplify. Twitter has a power to amplify things to a degree where, you know, people who may have never heard of us will suddenly see us and say, associate this to our entire work, everything that we do, everything that we write about. And, you know, there's a certain type of like demonization, you know, that happens when people disagree with an opinion or an idea.
I would also add that there are certain audiences, certain interest groups that are more present in social media than others. So when we write about, not we, but when the editorial board writes about, or an opinion columnist, some sort of op-ed writer writes about water issues in the state, you know, there's not a lot of water tweeters. There's not a lot of people who are going to be on Twitter jumping into that issue. There are a lot of people that are interested in that article. It affects everyone. But social media has its own little niches. And dogs and animals and cute puppies, cute puppy videos, cute animals, huge on social media. So of course that's going to play a little stronger on social media than, say, many of the other things they write about, including a lot of wonky political things and really heavy, in-depth analysis on other issues.
So I'm going to kind of like recap what the column says, because based on the reaction that we got, that we saw last night, and today we're still seeing a lot of it today, it seems like a good chunk of those people did not read the column. I think most people reacted to the headline, and the photo, and sure, we were aware that that's a possibility, that was something that was going to happen, but I think it's, behooves all of us to like go further, try a little harder, click on the link, and read the column. And what the column says, what Chris Reed is the guy who wrote this, he makes the argument that dogs have evolved in a certain way that, they've completely exploited our human compulsion to do anthropomorphism, which is basically to apply human qualities to things that are not human, like animals and objects. And he obviously he cites a number of people, of books and articles about this. Nowhere in the column does he say that he hates dogs or he dislikes dogs. I think to call a dog a parasite is somewhat of a metaphor, that he uses, but it's not. I don't think it's there. I don't think there's any animus, towards dogs in the column. I think, if anything, what some people pointed out is that Chris is essentially calling dogs con artists. Very clever con artists who have, figured out how to manipulate people into spending billions of dollars. Here, I'll give you a figure that he cites. The industry for dogs, dog owners is, spending by Americans on their pets more than quadrupled from 1994 to 2017, going from 17 billion to 69.5 billion. So it's definitely like a huge industry. And part of the reason behind that, according to his argument, is that, dogs are lovable creatures. We love we love them.
Yeah, we love them, but do they love back, or do they
and that is the
benefit from our love?
And that's the key question here in this argument is like, do they love us because they feel this sense of love towards humans, or they love us because they see us as food, as access to treats?
Yeah.
Sure, dogs are very talented. There's dogs that rescue people. You can train a dog to help disabled people. You can train a dog to do many, many things, and dogs are absolutely wonderful as companions. Again, that's not what the argument, that's not what the column is about. The column is about how dogs, for the most part, exploit our vulnerabilities as sensible human beings, And I'm a dog owner. I'll admit it. Yeah, I'm a sucker. I'll be the first one to admit it.
I think one of the other things we need to address is one of the clear issues that people had with this tweet in particular, and the headline of the article is the use of the word parasite. And we even had dictionary.com jump in on Twitter amid all of this craziness and all this response that we were getting to share the definition of parasite. And while parasite may be seen through certain eyes as negative or elicit an immediate reaction, which it did, we got so many, the mentions were flying through the roof. The definition of parasite, of the word itself, actually reflects what Chris was writing about.
Right.
So maybe if you view parasite in a certain way and then apply that to a dog, you have one response. But if you read the article and apply the headline to the article, that would give you another look at what that word means. So again, this gets into the nature of these things that take off on social media, that take off on Twitter. Luis and I are work in engagement in the news business, and so we pay attention to a lot of what goes on. And this is just it was straight textbook reaction that we saw from people. Yeah,
this was textbook Twitter amplification, rage amplification.
Yeah.
By a number of Twitter accounts that have thousands and sometimes even hundreds of thousands, if not millions. I think there were several with several million followers that retweeted that wanted to say something funny about it, or wanted to say something like, "Oh, look at this trash," or "This is clickbait," or "I found the worst take on the internet." And sure, that is the opinion of a lot of people. It's a very unpopular opinion to call a dog's parasite. But again, I think this was manufactured by this sort of like Twitter I guess, gut reaction, viral moment, you know.
So let's talk about a little bit of the reactions.
Yeah.
So what I would point out, having looked through a lot of these over the last less than 24 hours, is that very few of the responses were actually critiques or comments on what was written, or responses or rebuttals to the scientific information and facts presented by the author in the article.
Yeah.
Classic internet story.
Yeah, and I would say like
time.
95 to 99% of the reaction was, I don't like you, I'm going to punch you, bye.
Cursing, threatening,
you know.
saying that we deserve to die on our drive home from work.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of very awful things. But again, I think Abby and I think the rest of our team are fairly well aware that these kind of reactions happen, you know, and we've gotten a lot of really bad reactions in the past for other things, you know, but we kind of take it in stride, you know, we're pretty well aware of it.
Yeah, and I would want to get into the question of, you know, people thinking that this was done to go viral on purpose or to provoke this sort of response. One thing I would add for context is that the author, who we work with closely every day, has considered this issue for quite a while. We've talked about it as a team over the past year or so. It's something that's interested him. He brings it up every now and then. And it wasn't like he sat down and thought, what would make people the most angry today? Or like, what would get however many, I think we're up to, I don't know, almost 1,000 replies at this point. It was just to let everyone know, set the record straight. It was not like that.
Yeah. And I'll read some reactions that we got from Twitter. Do we have any comments?
Yeah, let's go through some of these Facebook comments. Sean Milko says, fire that guy. We got a lot of that on Twitter. Patricia Strong says, I saw it, thought about reading it, and then I thought better of it. Why give him any of my time? A person who thinks dogs are parasite has to be a horrible person. And why waste my time? Another reaction we saw, people making assumptions about the author. Let's see. A dog is the best home alarm system you can buy. Great point. Chris says in the column, mentions several of the ways dogs are beneficial to society and things that, and I think everyone's willing to admit and acknowledge that, yeah, they're used for, to help with, what are they called? Service dogs.
Yeah,
they're used as therapy dogs. They're used as rescue dogs. They're used by police dogs. Yeah.
There's all kinds of.
No one's saying that none of that's true. This is a question of the dog's perspective in these moments.
I don't think there's any science, and I don't think Chris necessarily pointed to any science to say that dogs are a form of a parasite. I don't think that's ever mentioned in the column, but I think that's how people interpret it. You know, that he is basically making the argument that dogs are parasitic. You know, and we have this. I guess parasites have a very negative connotation. You know, parasites are bad. You know, for humans, and I think people make that quick judgment reaction to this. Which is legitimate, you know, and we knew that it was a very provocative word, you know.
And I actually asked the author before we came here to come on Facebook Live about his decision to use that word, and he did remind me that not only that some of the sources that he used in this used that word, and he also referenced that in the article. So you can follow up on the links on those and read that for yourself.
Yeah, you know, there's plenty of dog owners here, and in our team, like I'm the dog owner, you know, we definitely debated this, you know, like you said, this is something that he took the time to research, he took the time to consider. We definitely took the time to figure out if this was going to go viral or if this was going to get this amount of reaction. I think we definitely considered all those options, and we still move forward. Whether people want to call us clickbait or whatever, you know, I think that's fair. I think that's fair criticism. You know, everybody gets that criticism. I think everybody, you know, gets some sort of criticism for how things are written. You know, and I'm happy to learn from this experience. I'm happy to like take this and say, you know what, that is something that you know, we're gonna consider, you know, moving forward, you know.
I think I would say that I can see why people would guess if this was an attempt at clickbait.
I don't think it was clickbait.
Okay.
I don't think it was clickbait.
Yeah, I think that the photo that we chose was, clearly one that would get attention. I don't think it wasn't meant to, we didn't start this whole day with the photo and say, what can we do in relation to this photo? There was another photo. We went and looked for a better one that was more close up. I think it was kind of like a shadow of a dog.
Yeah.
We just went through. Everybody loved this photo of this dog, and we went with it. It's not, it's not the sort of thing where you sit down and say, what will make this get hate replies and hate tweets? No, that was not the intent.
No. And
I can see why people see it that way. It was a very provocative headline.
And honestly, I think if anything, if the one big takeaway that I've gotten is that I'm glad that we're talking about dogs. I'm glad that people are, showing their appreciation and love for dogs, and hopefully, more people will consider adopting a dog from a shelter as opposed to resorting to a puppy mill. I'm a huge advocate for rescuing dogs. I rescued my own dog from a shelter, and fine. You wanna criticize the tweet, you wanna criticize the headline, you wanna criticize us. We can take it. We can take it. But I do gotta say that we come from a good place, and we mean no harm, no disrespect to Mr. Puppers.
I would also follow that up with an encouragement to read some of the other columns that Chris Reed has done. You can find his byline on San Diego Union-Tribune.com. This is the nature of sharing articles. We do try and find headlines that will interest people and show you what the article is about. I feel like we hit the mark on both of those things for this. Yeah. And we do pick interesting photos that show you also what this article is going to be about. And we do that for every article. Luis and I help our team, and everybody works together, but that's one of the natures of sharing articles. And I would add that you should check out some of Chris's other very interesting, thought-provoking columns on our website.
And a reminder and kind of like underscore this, I cannot underscore it enough. We are the opinion section. We work for the opinion team.
Yes.
Chris is an opinion writer. We are separate from the newsroom.
Yes, the newsroom, which is all here, has already had their reaction
today. We are on a different floor than the newsroom. Yeah. The work that the journalists do here for San Diego Union-Tribune has no bearing, no association with what we do in the opinion section. We respect their work, and I think everybody should absolutely respect their work. But we do opinion. Yeah. We do opinion.
Two more comments that I think we should get into. One from Lucas Oliveira, who says, quote, I don't think it was clickbait. Yeah, because calling something people pretty much unanimously love isn't looking for clicks. I would argue that it's not a unanimous thing. I have friends and family who are allergic to dogs. There are plenty of people who are scared of dogs. I have a friend that's scared of dogs, and that reflects on other dogs. I think that is part of this issue, is so many people replying without an open-mindedness to talking about a specific part of dog ownership and dogs in society. Yeah. Instead, just seeing it as you're against dogs or you're for dogs. That's not even what this column is about at all.
No.
It's not, we hate dogs or we love them. It's not about that at all. And I pointed that out on my own Twitter feed, actually, to say this is not about whether the author hates dogs, which he doesn't. And so saying that we sought out something that is universally loved, I don't think it's fair, because dogs are, it is a minority, I will definitely admit it is a minority opinion to not be a dog lover, but they're out there.
Yeah, and we did hear from those people as well.
Yeah.
And again, to say that, to push people at the button, I don't think, like, if America and if we as Americans stuck to saying things only that were popular or that were like agreed by the majority of people, then there would never be any critical thinking. We're all about critical thinking. We're all about thinking,
sharing multiple opinions,
different opinions. So just because we don't, because we publish things that are not of a popular opinion, this is not a climate science denying. We're not talking about climate science or global warming or whether the separation of kids at the border is good or bad. You know, we're not talking about those very consequential things. We're talking about dogs.
Yeah.
And you again, I think the criticism is welcome. You can call it whatever you want. I think it's I welcome the conversation about dogs. If you don't, you know, hey, you know, everybody's got their own opinions.
Yes. And on that note, I don't know if we will share our own personal opinions any more than that. I don't really want to.
I'm happy to share my opinions about how much I love dogs.
Well, that's the whole point, though, too, is that this is not about that. We are not talking about whether people love dogs.
But that's what people want to hear.
But that's what a lot of the reaction has been.
That's what you want to hear.
Yes.
That's what you want us to write about.
That's how you respond to this,
that's what you want
because you're a
everybody to
dog
write
lover
about.
or
That's
not
what
a
you
dog
want
lover.
everybody to write about.
Yeah.
That everybody loves
That's
dogs,
out
and
there.
we're
That
in a
is
very
everywhere.
happy living society.
It is overwhelming the internet that everybody loves dogs. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
One article pops up raising a question about dog culture, and he's accused as a dog hater. It's not true.
Yeah.
So anyway, we wanted to get into
We still love
internet
you.
reaction.
We still love your reactions.
We wanted to sort of point out some of the thoughts and reactions we had to how people are responding to this, because it does say, the responses, if you want to go check them out, it's on SDUT Ideas. The responses say a lot about the internet culture, and dog culture. That's all I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, and I think, again, you know, we're going to leave it at that. Appreciate you guys logging on, watching live.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. It was great to read them.
Again, if you don't like it, that's your opinion, you know, but...
and we welcome that.
We
don't welcome the F word necessarily as much as maybe a critical response or a well thought out opinion.
Well, if you want to be a troll about it, be a troll about it, but just know that people are going to ignore you.
Yeah,
you know?
And we have definitely gotten emails and some responses saying, this is an interesting subject, great point, I agree. It's definitely the minority response. It's definitely less than the "we hate you" response, but
on that note, I will be posting a conversation that I had. We recorded a podcast episode today, conversation with Chris Reed, who wrote this column.
Yeah.
I asked him the tough questions: why dogs?
Yeah.
And he gave me a really good answer. And I'll post that link in the comments if you want to come back and check it out. We'll also share it on Twitter and on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at SDUT Ideas, and hope that kind of settles things down.
Yeah, we're happy to take more questions, comments. I'm sure they'll be flooding in on social media throughout the day. And we are here every weekday at noon talking about this sort of thing, what we see people saying on social media, the news of the day, something that's interesting and it elicits a discussion, and hopefully we did that today. So
yeah,
we'll see you back here tomorrow.
See you then.